Hello and welcome back to Tay Radio Marin. I am your host Javier Vicuna, and I am here today with
your co-host Kimberly Escobar.
And on today's show, we have a special guest with us. We have Gabe Blake, who we actually met through the Mateo panel that we hosted at College of Marin last week. Thank you, Gabe, for being with us today. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I don't really do a lot of radio shows. This is actually my first one, so it's a huge honor. Go out and meet new people and just get the feeling of what it's like to be on a radio show.
Hey, well, that's awesome. Thank you, Gabe, for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And I wanted to ask. So today's show, we're gonna actually be having a really interesting perspective here with Gabe because, well, did you want to just introduce a bit of your background with what you do, what experiences you've had with the San Rafael Police Department?
Yeah, so I'm from Hawaii, and then I did a little bit of work. I thought as a little kid, flashing blue and red lights and emergencies were very fascinating to me. Interesting. I was just curious, that type of kid, be like, okay, what's going on? What's the emergency? So that's when I thought, hey, I want to become a law enforcement officer, protect the community, see what it's like.
How old were you at that time?
I was probably, 11 and 12 when I really started liking those blue and red flashing lights.
Gotcha.
And then I really got into it at probably age 16 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to, find local police departments that were doing cadet programs.
In Hawaii?
In Hawaii. And then I unfortunately didn't find anyone that I liked. So then I was just like, let's take a break. Let's focus on school. And that's what I've been doing.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for introducing yourself, Gabe. And we're excited to learn more about, well, your experiences in Hawaii and also your experiences here with the San Rafael Police Department. But before we delve into that, I wanted to ask the both of you, what are your guys' goals for the end of the year? Did you guys set any goals for New Year's or anything?
I guess I'll go first. Just get through school. I'm in school right now. Just changed my major for the third time. Finish strong. Get through finals. Get through midterms. And then I guess get ready for the next school season and see what direction I want to take and what jobs are offering what I'm looking for.
Hey, that's great. How about you, Kim?
It's kind of similar. I just had midterms and one of my classes I'm not doing so well. So I'm hoping, but then on the midterm I actually did pretty good. So I think I'm gonna be okay and I'm gonna pass. So as long as it's just this one class that I'm really hoping I pass because all the other ones I'm okay in.
What class is it?
It's my clinical class,
Ooh,
the lecture.
Yeah.
The lecture's a lot of information. And then it's 70 questions on the exam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole lot. So I'm hoping to just get by on that.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And I hope that you meet your goal. As for myself, I'm working on a pilot program to create educational courses for audio so that people can come in and learn how to use audio equipment. Because, again, Gabe, you know this, audio equipment doesn't need to be super expensive and doesn't need to be super inaccessible for people. So I'm trying to bridge that gap for high schoolers, people in the community to come in and learn how to use the equipment and actually get their music recorded or start a podcast because it doesn't require all that much equipment and not that much money either. So that's a hope that I'm hoping to get that curriculum and that funded by the end of the year. So that's one of my goals for sure.
So you're hoping to get it started by January?
January.
I like that.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's exciting.
All right. But thanks for sharing, you guys. That's great. It's good to know that we all got goals. It's been a big year. It's been a wild one. It's been a wild one. So, yeah. But I wanted to ask you, Gabe, so moving on to your experiences. So you joined the San Rafael Police Department. What made you want to join?
I like being a leader. I like being, making sure everything's safe out in the world. World meaning community that I'm in. they're both ways. You could go bad, you could go good. I just felt like growing up, I liked the red and blue flashing lights. You know, I like being curious, helping people out.
Yeah.
You know, make sure everything's safe. So that's when I found that SRPD had a cadet program. And so I got in touch with them.
What's a cadet program?
So cadet program is like an intern, and if you're interested in that field, law enforcement, it's a way to get a basic experience with, you know, you could do investigation work. You could work with other officers on calls. You could...
You get to ride with them.
You do get to ride with them, which is very fascinating. Very
interesting.
You learn a lot of different things. You get to wash their cars.
Oh, wow.
I don't think that's fun.
It's a paid program. A lot of high schoolers like doing that. But even if you're not a high schooler, if you're not older, you still can get the experience as a ride along to see what it's about.
Right.
But you see a lot of crazy different things in a lot of different parts of the city, which is very fascinating.
Yeah. So what was the training like there?
It was just like you'd get a piece of paper. It'd have a record of different things. Mainly the big thing was how to book somebody in jail. There are steps to booking somebody in jail. There are steps to detaining somebody. There are steps for everything. How to approach somebody, how to talk to them correctly, how to pull somebody over. But I'd say, it's difficult. It could go both ways, both physically and mentally. Number one, you're risking your life out there. You're taking your life with siblings. I have two other siblings, two sisters, and brother. But even if I decided to do that field, it was tough being a cadet because you're still out there. You're with other officers, but you're not as trained as the officers that are on duty.
Right.
So you're just by their side, but you're a cadet, so you're not all armed like they are. And you're just dealing with the smaller tasks. So if they need assistance with something, filling out paperwork, then you're there right by them. And, but it was super easy depending on, what role you tried to play. But, in my experience, it was more paperwork.
Gotcha. Oh, so paperwork. A lot of paperwork stuff.
A lot of paperwork stuff. Takes a lot of paperwork.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't do that because I actually was going to join the cadet program. I think like a year ago I was going to join it. Luis sent me a flyer about it that they were trying to get in cadets. And I was like, that sounds interesting because I was interested in law enforcement, but now I'm not.
Yeah, I'm hearing a similar tune here with everyone being interested in law enforcement and then they join. It's just like,
Hey, it's not, it's for some people, but, for me, it's just, I had different opinions and now I get different thoughts about it. And, it was a great experience. And if you're interested in going in law enforcement, highly recommend joining one of your local, departments, if that's Santa Fe, if that's Novato, Fairfax, etc. And, each one has a different cadet program, could be doing different things, but I know for Santa Fe, it's just specifically for law enforcement.
Law enforcement, yeah, I got you. So, thank you for sharing your experiences there.
Of course.
But what made you leave?
It was a lot. It was hard to, direct my mindset into moving away from law enforcement. I was moving on with about 2 years with them. But it was it's tough, after being on a couple ride-alongs with them, being on a couple calls and, really experiencing what work they do. It was really like, is this really what I want to do as my career? But it was I'd be on calls where there'd be like stabbings or there'd be, different altercations, parents arguing, but people on the streets, homelessness was a big one.
Yeah, no, homelessness is huge here in Santa Fe.
Oh, it's big.
Yeah.
I say public intoxication was a big one here in Santa Fe, which is, it's sad that they grew up that way, how they ended up on the streets.
Yeah.
But it's also, looking back, it's also what officers you were working with. And, just the tone of voice and how they acted towards the people on the streets. And, yeah, I get you're trying to make your community safe. You're trying to make, everybody feel welcome to a new city. But, that's where I was just like, I don't really vibe with the law enforcement. I did learn things that I didn't know about, great experiences, but I just felt like it wasn't for me.
What is something that you learned?
I'd say the big neat thing was properly booking someone, properly detaining somebody, pulling someone over was a big thing. Here and there, we got a couple, smaller accidents, but just the right way to fill out paperwork before you book them into the county jail. So, like, you ask for their name, emergency contact, why they're being booked in county jail, do they have any previous history, and then that's when you start patting them down, and then you book them in the station. That's pretty fascinating. So I learned a lot of cool things on how to use high speed rates, how to properly and safely approach somebody that you're unsure about.
Wait, how old were you when you joined?
So I'm 20 now. So I joined when I was, 19. So
19.
Not
Oh, so not that long ago.
Yeah, so I'll be 21 in April.
Oh, I was gonna ask something about that. What? Oh, because I thought you were like 16, 17 when you joined. I was gonna say, like, when it was a like big altercation, like how you said, like stabbing and stuff, were they able to take you since you were a cadet, or like was there certain precautions for you going to certain situations?
It's a great question. There were precautions that I had to take, for my safety, just because I wasn't, officially an officer.
Yeah.
It was over at Picklewee Park.
Oh.
It was probably 10:30 at night. We get a call about a stabbing that went on, and we found some evidence, but it's just all based on, like I said earlier, your safety. So there were precautions where, they'd yell at you, be like, stay in the car. If I tell you can come out, you can come out. But
yeah.
The big thing for, stabbings is making sure you're okay, making sure everybody else around you is okay.
And did you find that you mentioned that there's like a whole protocol, right? Police officers have to follow.
Correct.
How many of the police officers that you worked with actually followed those protocols?
Here and there, I'd probably get one or two officers that I originally, did ride-alongs with. But all the other ones, you could tell they were new. They'd have another officer with them in the car, and that's, that happens if they're still in training, if they're not eligible to, drive alone. So I got, thoughts being, how trained are they? Are they ready to be, alone? So I asked the officer I was with, I was like, hey, so, why are there other officers paired together? And so they said to me, they're like, they're still in the training process. They're not ready to drive alone. They're not ready to do other calls by themselves until they finish the whole course.
Wow.
But they still get to pull over and like interact with others.
Correct. So they're officers, but they're just not ready to patrol on their own.
Gotcha.
So there's just like basically a supervisor with them.
Correct. So they're getting evaluated while on call. So they already went through the whole police academy, but now they're just trying to get to the point where they can just be on calls on themselves, have their own vehicle, do their own work.
Gotcha. That's interesting. Honestly, that's just interesting. I don't think it makes sense to me, but it's just an interesting way of operating. Yeah.
I think it does kind of make sense. Like they need practice.
Yeah, I guess how else will they get the practice?
Because then if they just go in it like just alone, they could just easily mess up.
Well, I wanted to
also, for backup, depending on what call you're in, you never know. Now they come in pairs, for different scenarios.
Well, moving on to the Mateo incident, right? That was something that I knew has been going on in San Rafael as well, where just police officers just being downright like uncivil to a lot of the Latinos, all the minorities here in San Rafael. And did you know Daisy or Mateo at all? Like, did you know or Brandon? I think that was the name of the other
so
police officers.
not personally. I saw them out and about, but, never physically talked to them. I really got to know their face and, see what they look like through their social media page. That's a big thing that I follow up and see, okay, what people did they just hire? Who are we going to have, protecting where we're
Oh, do they check the social media pages of these officers? That makes sense.
So I have them on social media. I have SRPD on social media.
Yeah.
I have all the other locals like sheriffs and CHP to see, who just recently got sworn in to become, a law enforcement officer. And, just a couple weeks before that Mateo incident happened, they were actually just sworn in by Santa Fe PD. So
wow.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, wow, you're really going to have two people that you just sworn in and you're going to have an incident like this?
Like, what does that say for the rest of the of all the SRPD officers, Like, it's just, to me, it seemed so, like, I can't really describe just what was going through their minds, right, during that entire altercation.
Of course.
Like, it just seemed very... Like, I'm glad that they got the news out there, right? And that they got the body cam footage and everything. But what, to me, is like, things like that have been going on for a while now, It's nothing new here in Santa Fe. So have you been involved with any of the protests for Mateo, or other than, I know you joined our panel last week, but...
Yeah. I haven't joined a protest for Mateo. But, I feel like if I just go out there and, really get the experience on, like, what it's like to join a protest, because I've never been to a protest, but I've heard all the information that's been going on, and just dealing with something that, I was a part of with Santa Fe PD and how that all played out. Just, I feel like joining a protest, anything in particular, would be a cool experience for me.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Since you were in the cadet program, I know that's not going through the basic like protocols or like training that police officers go through, but like, in your opinion, like, when you were on call, do you think the officers went through correct training for them to be able to carry like deadly weapons? Like, do you think they should improve their training in any way, or is it like fine and it was mainly just based on the persons, like with the Mateo incident? So
if we're talking Mateo incident, personally, I feel like their training was unsuccessful and they shouldn't have been sworn in by Santa Fe PD. Yes, here and there I hear rumors that Santa Fe PD, they're low on law enforcement officers, but I just feel like they got to do a better check on who they're swearing in and, where they're coming from, what their background history is. Have they been to other departments? Have they done this to other, people they've worked with? But that's something I feel like SRPD doesn't really do quite well.
And it's also kind of like hard because, dude, any person, right? Like that's the crazy thing to me about like just police officers sometimes, is that like they can come off as probably like some of the nicest people ever, or they can come off like, that they really care about something, but then truly inside they have something that's hidden there that there's no way for us to measure something like that. You know what I mean? So once you hand them a gun, once you hand them some sort of power, then we get into situations like this where all of a sudden this police officer who seemed like they went through the training, right, and that the training seemed successful, turn out and not actually be as nice or as, caring as they made themselves out to be, because that was their whole goal the whole time, right, was to make it seem like they were doing that they were going to be doing good for the community. But then as soon as they get into a situation like this, it's like, well, now I can actually take advantage of the situation. So that to me is pretty damn scary, because like it happens all over the United States.
Definitely.
Like any guy who gets a hold of a gun, you don't know how sane that person really is. Like a background check can only do so much. So
correct.
They should do. Yeah. I wonder if they do psych evaluations.
Yeah, did they do that?
Not that I know of. That's a great question.
They should probably do that. I was gonna ask you, Javier, or like if either of you know, do you know where Daisy went for training?
Not that I know of. I just know that she's local.
She was local.
Like SRJC, did she go there?
Oh.
because they have most SRPD officers go over there
Correct.
for training.
Oh, really?
It's one of
Yeah,
I didn't know
that's
that.
the like most popular one for
Yeah,
SRPD.
so if you're looking for like a medical, you know, firefighting, paramedic, law enforcement, that's one of the
Yeah.
best schools that they have.
The JC,
To
eh?
go in one of the programs.
Someone, yeah, that's what I'm wondering if she went over there.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I mean, you know, they mentioned something about her being from San Francisco too. I think she went to SF State for a little bit. So I'm a little curious on, you know, her back educational history.
Yeah. Because the other thing is that, so Daisy is Latina, and she went and harassed someone who is Latino. So it's like, you can't, like, you see people, right, of your skin tone, of your background, get sworn into these roles that are supposed to help us out, you know, like you're the one that's gonna like help bridge the gap and help us out, but then this happens and all that hope is just lost.
Correct.
Right. And it just leads to so much like to me, I'm like, we need to like keep speaking up about these issues, because they're just gonna sweep it under the rug, and we can't even trust our own people now. Like it's just so scary to me. Like it's really terrifying.
Definitely. You know, I mean, I was close with Santa Fe PD for, you know, the longest time, you know. Actually, someone who was my baseball coach, Roy Leone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I knew him through he was actually on one of our other radio shows, Cuerpo Corazón Comunidad. He was on there, and he talked a lot about how he wanted to like improve the community here and do a whole lot. But yes, I have heard that name and I have met him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, out of all the other officers, you know, I feel like him and I are really close. You know, he's someone that, you know, if I am endangered, I can look up to. You know, he's someone I know who has been through the whole process successfully. You know, someone that knows how to use the roles as a law enforcement correctly.
I hear you.
So, since you haven't been to a protest or anything, do you think there's anything that you can do to help change SRPD, or is there something like you want to do but you're just like not really sure of? I mean, it's all like based on like personal actions. Like some people aren't really into protests, and like that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, I mean, I wrote down, I mean, you know, going to the head office in Santa Fe, you know, seeing if I can schedule a sit down, you know, with both older officers, newer officers, and discuss, you know, this is how the city feels. This is how people feel, you know, minors, you know, high school, college students, even adults, you know, and just see what they say and take notes on what they feel would be the best thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I know you've also had experience working and training through the SRPD, but I know you've also had experiences with the SRPD doing things to you. So could you share some of those experiences?
Yeah. So my brother, he's 15 now. He's at Santa Fe High.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was, I'd say 14, it was probably 10:30 at night. You know, we're all home, coming back from a family dinner. And my mom calls me and she says, "Hey, do you know if your brother's home?" I said, "Last time I checked, he was sleeping, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's home." And probably 10 minutes after that, she receives a phone call from an officer saying, "Hey, you know, we have your son in handcuffs. You know, he's detained. Is this him?" And she's like, "No, both my sons are home."
Yeah.
So that's when I got really scared. You know, as soon as I heard the word detained and, you know, handcuffs and a taser, and it was just like, I'm putting it all together. I'm like, wait, maybe that is. And so I check his bedroom, I check around the house, and he's not there. So then, you know, I have to wake up my mother. My mother gets up after the phone call, hops in the car, goes to the destination. You know, she's crying. But it ended up being him. You know, on his side, it wasn't too smart wearing black, you know, at night. But he's darker than I am.
Right.
But it's just the way that law enforcement officers see people.
Exactly.
See minors, you know.
Yeah.
He's 14 years old. It'd be different for me, you know. I'm over the age of 18. I get there are more consequences, but he's still in that learning process, so he was a freshman, I believe, that 8th grade freshman year.
Yeah.
And, you're still developing, what are the rules in a big place like that. So just, they did release him in the end, but he did come home crying.
Yeah, like that's traumatizing.
Experience. Yeah.
That's traumatizing.
Wait,
yeah.
if you don't mind me asking, do you know why he was detained?
Because someone caught him on film acting suspicious, and that's when they decided to, call the local police department. So they came out, and just that really shows you how people are with their security cameras that are on their property, and how they call law enforcement, how law enforcement decides to play a role in that scene.
Yeah, especially here in Marin with like everyone with their nice homes, with those Ring doorbells, right? That record everything.
I mean, we have a Ring doorbell, but that's just for, our safety. But
right, but
people come in on our property, trashing it,
Yeah, but what I see a lot is so that next door.
Oh,
you guys know next door, yeah. Next door, there's so many posts of people just posting like their security cam catching this suspicious looking person who it's usually
God.
like,
yeah, I see that.
It's just some literally person of color walking down the street.
Like coyotes, I see a lot.
Yeah, it's like
going on in their backyard.
And they're like, we gotta be careful. Or it's like,
yeah, I saw a post saying something like, has anyone seen like this like recent thing about like, it was like about a person and then like the cops, but it was like in a bad way. And I was like, I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like something like that. And I was like, it was like a few days ago that I saw that. And it was like around here.
Like they were just falsely accusing.
Yeah, something
people.
like that. And they were like, and then a lot of people were like commenting on it. But yeah.
That's, people take things seriously, they don't really feel how others would feel in that scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about their safety and, just spreading out, someone's being a little suspicious. Let's all keep an eye out and then report it to, local police department. But not even that. It's just the crazy things, how people drive and, what's going on in their backyard. It's like, I get you want to share that, but it doesn't need to be for everybody.
And it creates this kind of like it just, I feel like a lot of people are influenced by the news, like very, very, very badly.
Yeah.
As in like the news portrays mostly minorities that are getting into these crazy situations and how it's always the minority's fault for looking like this. And they only show minorities getting arrested or doing all this violence, right? And that causes this panic among like people who watch the news. They're like, look, there's this minority right in front of me, like coming through my house. Like, what are we gonna like? It's just crazy how America is like that,
Yeah, like here and there, I'll check the news, like ABC7 and CNN, see what's going on. But it's just like the crazy things you'll see on the news.
And it's a funny dynamic because you'll see that like all the crime, right, will be people of color, and then when someone goes missing, it's always some white girl or some white person that's gone missing or something. Like, it's like, why aren't they putting more attention to this? There's plenty, and I know plenty of people of color families that have had people lost, and they do not nearly get the same support.
Yeah, that's so true. One of my friends, my brother's friend has been missing since March. And
what the hell?
Yeah, he's a person of color, and like, his family has gone to the police and they won't do anything about it. And they think that like either he's dead or he's somewhere like homeless or something. It's because he was like in a mental facility. And especially since the cops aren't even, he was in a mental facility near here, like, or actually not too near here, but he like lives in Marin.
Yeah.
And the police won't do anything because he escaped the facility.
You see that?
Wow.
And it just shows that like they don't even care that he's missing or anything, and it's been months.
Wow.
But yeah, that's
ridiculous.
crazy. I feel really bad for my brother because
Yeah, no, that sucks. Like not having exactly going back the SRPD with something similar like that. I had a friend. So in where I live, I had during the when it gets really rainy here, a lot of break-ins happen where a lot of people go in and start breaking into cars. And one of my neighbors, his truck got broken into with a bunch of the power tools that he had inside. And they left thumbprints like all over the windows and everything. They did a pretty bad job of of stealing. But anyways, they left it out. He went over to SRPD to ask, hey, so they broke into my car. Here are the pictures. Look at all the thumbprints. They literally have the thumbprints there. And they said, we can't do anything about it. Literally cannot do anything about it.
That's so...
Yeah,
they can't do anything.
That just shows you, how our local police department deals and acts with different calls that get called in. And, my mother's had experience with, being hit on Irwin Street. I believe that's what it's called.
On Irwin, really?
Irwin right over here.
Yeah.
KFC?
No, where like the Starbucks is and the Staples, like that street
or
to Best
that
Buy.
Street is, that intersection by the gas station and coming off the freeway towards KFC. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, that is Irwin.
I don't think.
Irwin?
No, I don't think.
I don't think that's Irwin. I think it's on the street where Sprouts is, like where Sprouts, Staples, like that street behind. Anyways, that should be Irwin. Yeah.
It doesn't. Really
Yeah.
Anyways, no, I mean, the person who hit her, was very, disrespectful to her, and she didn't feel safe, and didn't want to exchange information, and she called law enforcement. And they're like, we're not in charge of doing those things. But that, she was pretty upset about that. So I had to leave work because she didn't feel safe in that area with someone who, was aggressive towards her.
Yeah.
So I had to, come by and see what's up. But as soon as I got there, he fled the scene. And, all she wanted to get an answer was if there were cameras that could, see what went on. Because she didn't have a dash cam at that time. But now, ever since then, she had a dash cam.
Yeah, dash cams are lifesavers.
Yes.
Quite literally lifesavers.
Yeah, no. So I actually asked her this morning if, I could get a dash cam for the car I'm driving, just because, I've encountered a lot of dangerous driving. And
here in Marin especially, yes.
Yeah, most definitely, yeah. Especially when I'm commuting to and from school, people not using their blinkers, people just, cutting you off, or just high rates of speed. And
the rate of speed here in Marin is high.
Yeah,
people drive fast here.
Or people running reds and stoplights, I guess same thing, or stop signs. And it's just that crazy, like you're looking for an accident, but if you get on dash cam, then you got it all right there. And you just back.
What makes me so angry is the fact that you have some people, so a lot of people of color, I feel, get into the car scene because they don't have enough. The way I see modding cars is that we don't have enough money to buy like a Lamborghini. We don't have enough money to buy a Ferrari or a new Porsche or any of that, right? So a lot of us resort to modding our cars to make them faster, make them feel nicer, right? But whenever those people do the same actions that some guys, it's okay. What I'm trying to say is that I've seen so many guys here, a lot of the rich people here in Marin, who drive their Porsche 911s, who drive their I've seen some Lambos here. I don't know how they even travel in the Lambo here because it's the worst place to drive a Lamborghini. But especially people in Porsches and Teslas, okay? They go through red lights. They run through red lights and they speed. They're going like 60 to 70 on like a 35.
Oh, I know.
And I see it all the time here. And they don't get stopped. And then when some guy who has a modded car who's doing the same exact thing does it, he gets stopped. And it's just like, to me, it's so unfair.
It's because cops know people of color are the ones who are doing this to the car.
Exactly.
That just remind my brother wants to get a Hellcat, but he's scared that he doesn't want to get pulled over by police officers because it's like a red Hellcat, but it's already modded and stuff.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to get that because he's scared that police officers are going to pull him over and just misidentify him in a way. So I feel in a lot of ways that also puts down a lot of the youth and making them feel they can't get what they want to get because of how police officers will treat them because of what they have. Right. And it's just so, like I said, it happens a lot here. And there's a lot of modded cars here in San Rafael and in Novato.
but it's just unfair. It really is unfair. And I just wanted to share that just because, when I'm driving around, I see that all the time. So.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. When you're driving, you see the people in Teslas and, all those super high-end sports cars. What color are they?
Gray.
Yeah.
Usually gray or white. Yeah.
Yeah, white.
White or gray.
Yeah.
And then, most muscle car guys usually get I want a red Mustang. So, yeah, I would get a flashier color or a blue Mustang or something, right? But you're right. Most of the colors that the higher end cars are, except for Lambos. Lambos have some pretty crazy colors, but you're right. Porsches and Teslas,
they have the neutral,
very neutral colors, and most people don't want to get a neutral colored muscle car, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I mean, even when I'm driving, who's ever driving that car, take a quick glance on, what they look like. And majority of the time, it's a person who's white. Nothing against white people. Everybody has their own opinion on cars, but that's just the big thing that I feel like those type of drivers have in their way of driving.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of layers to it, but definitely I feel like we're targeted more than most guys in their high end cars. But so just moving on, unless you had anything else you wanted to say about Gabe's experience with SRPD and just SRPD in general, Kim?
No.
No? All right. Well, I wanted to move on to more about, so you're from Hawaii.
Correct.
No PSA. No PSA.
Well, you want to say your PSA? Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, I've said this in the past PSAs. I'm an intern at the Marin Office of Equity and wanted to share a little about what the office is doing. The Office of Equity has a participatory budgeting project which is known as PB. PB is a citizen engagement process in which community members decide how to spend a portion of money and how can community members decide a portion of money and how this money can improve equity in Marin. The budget this year is $2.5 million. That's a whole lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I know. Well, you, the community members, get to decide how you want to spend it. This gives real power to the community. It is a year-long process. Some examples of ideas are public safety, housing, education, and training, jobs and business development, and more. But if you have any ideas or would like to, or know where you would like to spend this money, you can comment it on the county.gov on Instagram. And you can we also have a link in the county gov website, and we have just launched the ways that you can send in ideas, and you can choose where in Marin. It's like a map, and you just choose that you want this money to go to this area, and you say to what, basically. And for a lot of things, you can also say something about policing in some way. I know they're trying to do the oversight committee on SRPD, so
that'd be very important to have.
That could also be something, but normally we want this to go into money that isn't funded already. I'm pretty sure that's already funded, so maybe not into something like that. Basically something that isn't funded already.
Maybe a recreational center for youth or teens, because
exactly.
there isn't enough of those here.
Yeah, that's another great idea. Yeah, that's my PSA.
All right, well, thanks for sharing, Kim. Sorry for skipping that, but thank you for sharing. So that's a really great opportunity, so definitely check it out, or you can contact us at Tay Radio Marin directly, and we'll just forward that over to Kim. So,
yep.
Thank you. All right, did you want to start things off with asking Gabe how things were in Hawaii?
So you said you've been here since COVID, correct?
Correct.
What made you want to move?
We have a lot of family in this part. We have family in Mill Valley. We have people in Nevada. We have people in San Francisco. And those are all cousins related. But we only had one set of cousins in Hawaii. So when there were special occasions, we'd have to, book a flight probably 2-3 times a month. And so it started adding up, nothing money is a big problem for us, or, we don't like taking airplanes and, traveling. But it just got super, it got crazy with our schedules. And it was just, us being taken out of school and us, leaving work for occasions. And, I love occasions. I love spending time with family. But it's just, we felt like most of our family was here.
Yeah.
And so we felt like the best thing to do was buy a house here. But that's where we are now. I like it. I don't like it here for different reasons. But we still do have a house there. We go every summer, which is super neat.
How long did you live in Hawaii for?
Pretty much until COVID, and then we all decided to.
So you lived there basically your whole life till
Correct.
COVID. Oh, okay.
Wow.
That's...
What are the differences that you see there? Because I know you did some law enforcement training in Hawaii, correct? Or kind of, not?
Yeah, just looked. Didn't do any work physically with them.
Well, I guess how were the police compare in Hawaii compared to here in Marin, from what we've just been discussing?
You can obviously tell, their training is super high end because, Hawaii is just, Oahu in particular is an island and, it's different. You get crazy things, but it's not like, you get 4 officers on one call and then, another set on a different call.
Mm-hmm.
But, they know what they're properly doing. So if there's like a situation going on the streets, you're not going to see like 3 officers. Mm-hmm. You're not going to see them coming in 2s. You'll see a single officer, having discussion, saying, hey, like, what's going on? What are you guys doing here? And they'll honestly listen to what the people they're dealing with have their voice being heard. Mm-hmm. It's not like, okay, you're doing something wrong. Let's detain you. We're going to check you. But it's also with the bigger scenarios, like, it's just, you get a different vibe there than here. You also get a different perspective on, how they're trained there and, how they deal with different scenarios in that case.
Do you know, or I'm pretty sure you don't know exactly, but do you know what the crime, like how much of a crime, how the crime rates are like in Hawaii? Because I wouldn't, or like what island did you live on?
Oahu.
Wahoo.
So
Okay.
Waikiki and Kaimuki is, where we particularly are. It's a very big touristy attraction, especially Waikiki. A lot of people go during the summer. But going back, I don't know what the rate is. I just know, just by looking, it's more like smaller situations, or big thing are car accidents there.
Ooh. Interesting.
Because it's a lot of one ways and,
People get confused.
Yeah, sharing the streets. So, here you don't see a lot of, one-way streets. So you pull over and you let the other person go and, shine of respect. And then most of the time they'll pull over, you go. But some of the people just, they don't follow that. They think, they have higher advantage and, or they time it incorrectly. So they time things and then there's the outcome, they get in an accident, something goes on. So.
I see.
Yeah, I could see why Hawaii would be like way different. Like the environment there is like way different. The culture, that's like because it's more of a culture than like the state itself. Like the states here are different compared to Hawaii. That's more tropical like.
Correct.
So
yeah, it's like a whole different country.
It's a whole, yeah.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
The United States just like stole their land basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why I would imagine like, oh, it's obviously like so much. I've never been to Hawaii. Like I really want to go, but I'd imagine it's like really different compared to, and I would think that the training is also like way more like chill and like not so like, it's more, how do I explain it? Like more advanced, but at the same time, like you would
more optimized.
Yeah, you wouldn't also see too many officers on duty because I wouldn't believe that there would be that much crime.
Yeah, well, what's funny? I mean, looking at the officers there and, color, most of them actually started at school there. They're all from different places. All the officers aren't from different schools like the ones here. Some could be at Santa Rosa. Some could be, out of state. They could have been coming from different places. But Hawaii, you can just tell, they're local. The way they act, the way they speak. Like Hawaiians, it's that respect. They're not so selfish. They care about others. They like being a leader, just dealing with things in a calm, respectful way. But you can obviously tell just by looking at a couple of them that, most of their schooling was done there. Mm-hmm. Or not even on Oahu, on different other parts of the island, but that's still considered Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And then depending on where they want to be located, that's where they all decided to station.
What do you think, how do you think, so I know we were just talking about how Hawaii is very different from all the other states here in California, or not in the United States. But what do you think here, particularly in Marin County, the way things are here? In what way do you think the Hawaiian lifestyle can help kind of? What can Marin County learn from that? Like, do you feel like there's like a bigger community there in Hawaii, like in the part of Hawaii that you grew up in? Like, do people like just greet each other more, or like you know what I mean?
It's a little bit of everything. Respect and how you approach somebody, even if you don't know them. Going in a grocery store, saying aloha, which is a sign of hello, or mahalo, which is thank you. But you get that feeling, when you walk into an ABC store, which is like the Dollar Tree here, like just one of those pop-up shops, and they always greet you. They always got that music going, and they have all the windows, and they have different things that will attract your attention, like t-shirts, towels. But it's also like the workers that work there, they greet you, they say hello, they have a conversation. But then when you come here, how many of those people want to actually have a conversation with you? How many people have that music going, have different things that catch your eye? Like in Hawaii, they have different catalogs, like things you can do, like, parasailing, diving, scuba diving. But it's just a whole different way of, being heard, and just a sign of respect is just different here. People here, I feel like, oh, you're a stranger, I don't want to talk to you. Yep. Or, you're this color, I want to stay away from you. So I feel like color here plays a big role. But, in Hawaii, you get people all over, all different kinds of colors, especially summertime. I'll be surfing, I look to my left, there's white, there's black people,
diversity everywhere.
Diversity, and white
and less segregation, I'm sure.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you go to the beaches there, and they're busy, but it's like everyone's getting along with each other, and like even I'll make friends, like people will visit, I don't even know them, but it's just that connection that you feel like brothers and sisters. You don't even know them, where they came from, you don't know the background history, but here it's just like, I don't feel like people were my brothers and sisters if I met them.
Yeah.
Like, there's like that feeling that like you need to know everything about them because of the way most people are like in Marin, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're getting at. Yeah. Like, I think it's just like I connect more, like, over time, like doing a lot of outreach stuff for the studio here. Like, I've gotten to meet people, but again, like here in Marin, you don't just go up to some random person on the street and say, hey, how you doing? Or hello, or even just a simple hello or something. Most people just ignore you. They just walk through or just walk past like you don't even exist.
I try and say hello.
Yeah, you try to say hello and it's just awkward.
You're nice,
Yeah, but I'm sure that in places like Hawaii, where it's like you guys are more...
It's a tight community.
Tight community, exactly. Same thing when I went to Mexico. When I went to Mexico, everyone there was like a friend. Like everyone there would call you brother. Everyone there would call you a sister or whatever. Like it's just everyone there was super chill. Like the people, even like the business owners. I'm gonna be honest. Some of the business owners here aren't that nice either. They're just there to do business and that's it. But
I feel like white business owners here are like pretty racist.
Yeah.
Like I've gone into some stores and they like look at me like I'm gonna steal something.
Oh my goodness.
And then I feel weird. And then I like feel weird like even like looking at the items, so then I just leave.
Like I had a friend who went to Berkeley, and they went to go to one of the like those like white owned businesses where it's like antiques and stuff like that, and she just went over there just chilling out. She was with her other friend, both of them are Latina. They were just chilling out, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they were leaving, one of the guys stops them and is like, hey, can I check your bags? Like what? Like they were like not the only people there either, and they didn't obviously steal anything, but it just like they were like, oh sorry, it's just like part of the protocol we have to follow. It's like, what protocol? They literally didn't buy anything. They were just looking around, and now you're just accusing them of stealing something? Like,
yeah, that's interesting.
Like,
I actually came in contact with somebody. I work in retail, and it's just retail is a big part of greeting people. Seeing what people like, what's their style. Clothing, shoes, jewelry. But this couple walks in, and his girlfriend was like, light skinned, and he was, shorter, probably a little taller than I am, and I'm like 5'6", 5'7", and I just greeted him. I was like, "Hey, like, how can I help you?" I work over at Vans, and he was wearing some, we have different types of shoes. He was wearing like the older classic style Vans, and they looked a little torn. They look like they've had some good time being used. So, I greet him. "Hey, how's your day going? What can I help you with? Is there anything you want to check out?" And, he just got that, way of, he saw me as like someone who wouldn't be able to help him, or,
Oh my
just,
God. I know
he's
exactly what you're
dark-skinned, like,
talking about.
he's going to come off as, aggressively.
Yeah.
Just the way that
Yep.
he was speaking, and then he totally avoids my question. Then he goes on about, "Oh, I probably know more about, each shoe than you do." And I was like, "You're going to tell me about how to do my job?" And then, then he skips that and then goes on about, "Oh, do you guys sell bigger sizes?" And I was like, "No, but you can check on the website." And that's where he got all frustrated. But then this is where it's funny, he goes to my other coworker, and she's, dark skinned, and he's like, "Oh, I thought you guys sold shoelaces." And she's like, "No, not anymore. They weren't one of the big things." And he was just super aggressive about it. But, his girlfriend was just coming in to redeem points,
Yeah.
you get to a certain point where you have enough points, you can redeem like coasters and shirts and
Sure.
keychains, etc. And he just had that feeling like, we weren't welcomed. And he gave us that like super aggressive vibe. Like
That's
he
so
wasn't
whack.
pleased with what we were telling him. So he wanted to correct us on how to do his job or do our job. It was just like, you get people like that.
Yeah.
As soon as they pull that, I'm just like, I'm done helping you. Or especially, over at the gym that I work at, the Y, they'll pull the race card where it's just like, "Oh, is it because, I'm this color and they're that color? Or is it because, they have more respect than me?" And as soon as they pull that, I just, I don't want to help them anymore.
Yeah.
Wait, what's an example of that? Like,
So it comes a big role, because I'm a lifeguard over there. It comes into big swimming, So each lane, there's different lanes: slow, medium, fast, and they got a circle swim, 4 people per lane, and some of them got big fins, little fins. Some of them have, a wide arm stroke. And it's just like, I guess there was an altercation between 2 members. It was like a Latina and some white dude, and I guess this guy, his name was, I think it was John.
Sure. Okay.
He broke his neck, and so he
Oh, wow.
had no
What the-
ability to turn his head, and so he's swimming with his face down. And she felt a kick in the face, and he didn't even know that
Because he couldn't see.
couldn't see. So
Was he trying to get out of the pool?
yeah.
Yeah.
So she was trying to get out of the pool, and she comes to me after her swim, and she's like, "So you're not going to do anything about it? Like, you're just going to target me?" It's a lot of targeting there, and it's all the race.
wait, a guy kicked her in the face.
Yeah,
and
because
she
he
got
was-
mad?
She got mad because he was swimming with flippers, and she didn't have flippers, and he was trying to do one of those, swim turns or whatever, instead of, holding on the wall. And it was just the whole, she comes to me, "Oh, is it because I'm this color and he's that color?" And I just,
Wait.
I don't vibe with that. I
That-
don't like people like that.
Yeah.
As soon as they pull the race and, "Oh, you're targeting me," I'm not targeting anybody. I'm not like that. I'm just, sometimes I can't see everything that's going on. It's like, just talk to him about it. That's what I said. I said, if something happens like that, pull him aside. Don't come to me, talk
Accusing
about,
me of being
talk about
racist.
race,
Yeah, like what?
targeting you. And it was just like, that's where I don't like that feeling where it's, then you feel, you don't want to be there. And it's just like,
I've had something like that happen at the YMCA, or like, I guess in a way we were kind of putting the race card. In a way, it was basically, I was with one of my older cousins. She's like in her 20s, and then I was with my little brother.
Yeah.
And there's this other group, there's like this family, and they also had their kids, and like they were like the same age as my brother. And the lifeguard had said like they told us to put on a life jacket for my little brother, but like he didn't want to because we were trying to teach him how to swim.
Right.
And my cousin was like, "No, like I'm trying to teach him how to swim. Like I'm an adult. Like I'm watching him. Like she's an adult." And then I was also like helping. And then like he didn't even tell the other people basically to put on a life jacket. And they were the same. They were younger than my brother. One of them was like almost like looked like they were like he was like 4, and he didn't say anything to them. And then my cousin got mad because he was saying like, I'm gonna kick you out. It was this white lifeguard, and then he was like saying, I'm gonna kick you guys out, like you guys have to put it on. And she was saying like, why don't you tell them to put it on? And then it was like, because it was like 2 babies and it was only like one of the adults, and they were literally like, one of them was literally like a baby. And then she was like saying, why don't you tell them to put it on? And then he was like, no, he's like it's not the same thing. He's like, he has to put one on though. And then he like the lifeguard kept saying like, you guys gotta go. And then like I got out of the pool, but my cousin still stayed, because I'm not really like the type to like argue, but she is.
Yeah.
And so like she got really frustrated, and she started saying like, is it because they're white and like we're like brown? She's like she's like also like really dark.
Yeah.
So and then he was like, no, he's like, no, it's not because of that. He's like, he just has to put one on. And she's like, that makes no sense. And then we ended up just leaving, because that made like no sense for him to just like tell us, but not tell the white family to put it on. And they literally had a baby.
Dude.
And we were like, that makes no sense. My brother was also like, he's 11 right now. And this was like a year ago. So he was like 10. And it made no sense, but I didn't pull a race card, but in a way I like saw her perspective, because that made no sense that he would like tell us, but not tell that family.
That's happened multiple times to me.
And
in
he's
my
like,
fam,
he also was like, oh, I know that family, so it's fine. He also said that, and I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, that just shows you, you know, their perspective on, you know, people of color, and, you know, how they think of themselves. And it's just like, it's just crazy how the world's changed. You know, I felt like, you know, Santa Fe and other places in general were, you know, more welcoming at some point. But, you know, I'm telling people, you know, I feel like COVID's changed the way they act.
oh yeah.
You know, drivers, you know, it used to be before COVID, oh, hi, how's your day going? You know, you walk in a grocery store, coffee shop, and, you know, they hold the door for you, or, you know, they let you cross the street, or, you know, you're just trying to get from A to B to C, and, you know, that can't even happen anymore. And, you know, I've had encounters where, you know, I'm just trying to cross the street, and, you know, we both make eye contact, and yet they still cut me off. It's just like
when you're
trying
walking,
to cross the street.
Yeah.
But it's just like the whole way that people have changed during COVID, you know.
Everyone's just so much angrier.
Yeah, not all people are like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel, you know, you take different ways of seeing before COVID and after COVID, and you put them together, and you see that people have really changed the way they act during COVID and post-COVID.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think that's super true, because there's so many, even like businesses, again, going back to businesses, like a lot of them had to suffer right through COVID.
Yeah.
And many of them came out not the same. Like either their businesses went down, like aren't existent anymore, or they had to like go with more aggressive like business practices. And I feel like that kind of, and that stress levels like just get to people, right? And just causes them to be more aggressive and less like welcoming as it was before. I feel like just people are less welcoming about things like post COVID, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
that's actually weird to think about. COVID did change a lot.
Yeah.
No, you see, like, I'll be driving with friends, and, you know, we'll be at a 4-way stop, and they'll be like, oh, you're so nice. Like, why are you letting all these people go? Like, you got to the stop sign first, or, you know, you're letting these people go in. I was just like, you know, I don't let that stuff affect me, you know. I just want to be who I am.
Yeah.
You know? If you just show a sign of respect to other people, if that's drivers, people you don't know, people
can make a difference.
Know,
yeah.
You know, it just makes them feel well, you know. Here and there, like, I'll say something and be like, oh, you just made my day, or, you know, thank you so much. It's just that connection. And even if you start like a conversation, then you get to know a little bit about them, and, you know, then it gets to the connection where it's like you have the same hobbies that they do, or it's just like, I don't know, it's something that makes me feel good in a way. If someone does something good for me, or, you know, I do something for somebody else, and it's just that, you know, a sign of respect, you know, that you did something great.
Well, thank you, Gabe, for sharing your perspective. today. We're actually right out of time, but it has been an honor to talk with you.
I went by so quick.
It went by really quickly, but I think we got a lot of great points out there. And again, thank you so much for your perspective, because I think it's very important that people hear about this, because it makes a change. It really does. The little things matter, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
So thank you, Gabe, for being on with us.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me on. And it was a pleasure. And, I just hope that, people watch this and, have a different perspective on different things. If that's, law enforcement, other, businesses, or, where they're currently working, and, how it's changed.
Yeah, most definitely. All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.